That was great. Good timing. All right, this would be the first quarterly instance of the Radio Statler podcast. Woo! So it's been, oh god, way too long since we had another one of these. Night Owl, it's stuck on you, so you're just smoke coming out, sunglasses, dapper as all fuck. Beautiful. That, I hope, is the thumbnail for this video.
We can make it the thumbnail one way or the other.
That's true. That is true. We have the power.
We have the technology.
Better, faster, stronger. All right, left to right. Let's introduce ourselves. Actually, does everybody have the same order? Am I the rightmost for everybody?
No, you're the left for me.
You're the middle for me.
Ah, Jesus.
We go by your order. You call it out.
All right, Hack, want to introduce yourself?
Yep, I'm Hack5190. Hello.
Fuck. There he is!
Yep, okay. No, minor technical difficulty. I meant to hit mute, and I instead hit disconnect.
And we're off to a great start, folks.
Oh, yeah. No, this is... so I am Night Owl. I have somehow managed to get back here. I don't know why they keep inviting me, really.
I don't know why they keep inviting me either.
Well, because you record it.
Oh shit, I run the damn thing. Fuck.
Yeah. Stop inviting yourself.
Hey, Beaches, we need to have a very solid talk about why you're a fuck up and need to leave. And I'm Beaches, apparently a fuck up and need to leave. Exit stage right.
I mean, if you believe the things that come out of your own mouth.
Is that a requirement?
No.
I mean, it helps.
But nothing's actually required. I mean, come on.
I mean, if you don't believe the things that come out of your own mouth, then like you're a shoe-in to be a Republican congressman. So,
ooh. Taking it political.
Maybe that's a raise.
I mean, they certainly get paid more than any of us.
That's probably true.
Better health care as well.
And it's free for them.
Yes, for life.
Exactly.
All right, so what I'm hearing is that we need to, as soon as we're legally eligible, run to be a Congress critter.
And, like, it's fine if we get impeached, like, within a week of taking office. The point is you have to be sworn in, and then you're fine.
Is that really how that works? I feel, well, I don't know. Does impeachment nullify the effects of...
No. Generally, no.
Sweet. So just...
like,
wait.
Some extra stuff they can do where when they impeach you, they can basically nullify you having ever actually...
So what if you run, get the position, and then you just resign?
I mean, you can. I don't think anyone's ever resigned that quickly. And the
I had hopes though. I definitely.
I mean,
definitely the people that want. I was like, oh man, I really want them to resign.
Why would you resign that quick though?
I don't know if you just did it for the benefits.
I mean, there's plenty of people who have taken office with giant scandals dogging them.
Yeah.
And really, they should have resigned, like, instantaneously or before they even got sworn in. But these days, the trend seems to be you just hang on for as long as you can, grift whatever you can, and maybe spend some time in a federal prison.
Maybe.
Well, there's
sweet congressional pension and lifetime free government health care.
Well, that's all I'm saying, right? Is that like you get the position, and then instead of doing the work, you just resign, and then you have the pension and the benefits,
right? Without having ever done any actual useful work.
Yeah, right. Like at that point, you just need to like make enough money to like roof over the head, some food, and do what you want.
Okay, no, you see, that's That's what a pension is, though.
Oh, so I was thinking that the pension would be something that when you're of retirement age, then you would get the pension.
No. You see,
You
that's
just
the
get
thing.
paid for just
Thing.
having been.
Yeah.
Really?
That's the thing. When you leave the job, I mean, sometimes there's some fine print where you have to be retirement age or whatever, but generally speaking, the way a pension works is that when you retire from the job, whether that's by resignation or by getting fired or by hitting retirement age and being forced to retire, you leave the job and then your pension kicks in.
Oh, jeez. So.
And you just collect your pension.
Congress people. I know the president gets a pension. Wow, I almost did not write pension.
Yeah, you should
been
be very careful about spelling that.
Do Congress people get penis?
Some of them.
Congressional pension, Wikipedia. Congressional pension is a pension made available to members of the U.S. Congress. Members who participate in the Congress pension system are vested after 5 years of service.
Okay.
So you can't immediately
You gotta
resign
hang on a
from the
little while.
pension.
You got to hang on a little while.
Well, that gives you plenty of time for all kinds of graft, kickback.
But you can. Let's see. 5 years of service. No, wait. Full pension to people 62 years of age or older with 5 years of service. 50 years of older after 20 years of service, or 25 years of service at any age. A reduced pension is available depending on several other options. Members leave Congress before retirement age. They may leave their contributions behind and receive a deferred pension later. Okay, so the congressional pension does seem to require that you actually hit retirement age.
Yeah.
There are other
Or
pensions.
serve for 25 years.
I mean, if you're old enough, yeah.
I mean, how much youngest
I mean,
age to be?
okay, so Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is the youngest person to ever serve in Congress. She would have to serve in Congress for 25 years to get.
And you have to be 25 in order to be eligible for the job. So you'd have to be 50.
She'd have to wait until she's 50, at which point she'd only need 20 years of service to qualify.
This math is kind of dumb. It's like, 50 years, or older with 20 years of service is like, if you get in at like 35.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Not
Then
35,
when you're
it'd be 30.
55, you can retire and get a full pension.
I mean, that's better than most everybody else, but
Where's that?
Considering that basically no one except for members of a handful of public service unions like the Patrolmen's Benevolence Association gets a pension at all these days. Like, that's the thing. A pension is not a retirement plan the way people think of them now. It's not you invest part of
you
your
just get
current
money.
salary into a bank account and hope that the fund manager doesn't screw you over and that the stock market doesn't tank and you'll have a little bit put away for your retirement. This is, you literally keep getting paid your salary for the rest of your life without you having to actually work after a certain age.
Yeah, that's just how pensions are supposed to work, yeah.
Yeah, well, except that most people don't know what pensions are these days.
No, because people stopped offering them because it's significantly cheaper for your company to offer you a 401k or something. Where like, we'll
Right.
throw a little bit of money in now, and then it's your problem.
Exactly right.
Wow, former Congressman Ron Paul refused to participate in the congressional pension system, labeling it immoral.
Ron Paul thinks a lot of things are immoral.
Yeah,
It's strangely not like the classically immoral things,
no, of
like
course not.
bombing the shit out of people for no good reason.
North Carolina Congressperson Howard Coble did not also did not participate in the pension system either. He campaigned against the system in his first campaign in 1984.
How
Good
long?
year to run for office.
I've never heard of that guy, so he cannot have been in Congress that long.
I have no idea.
The real question is, did he actually qualify ever to receive the congressional pension? That's the fun bit.
Yeah, I think so. John Howard Coble was a U.S. representative for North Carolina's 6th Congressional District, serving from 1985 to 2015.
Oh.
He was a member of the Republican Party. The district includes all or portions of 10 counties in the northern central
North Carolina.
Yeah, it's from North Carolina.
Kind of a given.
Yeah. Congressional pensions are financed through a combination of employee and employer contributions. All members pay Social Security payroll taxes. That's good. Wow, that's what the wage base is for... Oh, wait, no, okay. Members pay Social Security taxes equals to the Social Security taxable wage base. Okay. Okay, you don't get, I think, your full salary, though.
Salary? I mean, the question is it actually just a investment fund scheme rather than an actual pension?
In 2002, the average congressional pension payment ranged from $41,000 to $55,000. Payment, yeah, okay.
Right, but is that pay out or is that pay in?
As of November 2014, senior members of Congress have been in office at least 30 years. Jesus Christ.
Does he get a pension?
If he runs for office.
He has a special pension.
That's what I was thinking too. He's probably set.
I mean, depending on who you listen to, yeah. Either he's dead and has been for a long time and does not care, or he's pretty well set.
Not right.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how much it actually pays out. Accrual rate for congressional person.
It seems like
special computation.
that seems like something that should be, more publicly searchable.
I mean, I'm also just looking in Wikipedia, which is more describing how the program is supposed to work mathematically, as opposed to just being like, here's how many people got what pension.
Yeah, but usually they have a link to where you can look up that information or something.
Scroll down to the bottom. Let's see. C-SPAN, Capital Questions Archive, CRS Report for Congress. Retirement benefits for members of Congress updated January 21st, 2005. Perfect. I don't know. This seems... So there's the CSR and there's FERS. So retirement plans available to members of Congress. You have dual coverage. Members first elected before 1984. Oh God, the fact that, well, hopefully they'd be retired by now. If you were elected first in 1984, I would hope you'd retired at this point.
One would hope, but I don't know.
God. Hold on. There in office.
Everything is madness.
Mitch McConnell.
Oh God.
Was elected to the Senate in 1984. So, Yeah.
Just-
There you go. It's like 1984. That sounds familiar.
Yeah, it was during the Reagan administration.
That was before my time. So there's dual coverage. So there's CSRS, offset,
Children.
FERS, and then Social Security only.
I found out that someone I was talking to on Twitter the other day was born in 1991.
Yeah. What's wrong with that?
Well, it was a discussion about floppy disk storage.
Okay, sure. They should have grown up with that.
Well, except that if they were born in 91,
Yeah.
like CDRs were a thing around, say, 98, 99.
Yeah.
So they would have been like 7, 8 years old.
Yeah.
Time when floppy disks were basically being phased out
Sure.
as a storage medium. CDRs became a thing, and like 4 years later, which would have been about the time that they would be in like middle school, USB drives were becoming a thing.
Becoming, but they were still prohibitively expensive. Honestly, CDRs were also
I mean, okay,
kind of expensive.
per megabyte, yes, they were quite expensive, because even then you could buy a blank recordable CD for less than $1,
Mm-hmm.
whereas
You used to be able to buy them from the school library.
I think, let's see, I bought my first thumb drive in the summer of 2005.
Yeah. Sounds
And
right.
it was, actually I have it around here somewhere.
Oh my god. We'll just whip this out for you.
It's in a bag somewhere on here. But anyway, I think it was somewhere, I think it was about 128 megs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Sounds about right.
And I paid somewhere around 20 or 25 pounds.
Yeah. Sounds right.
Which would have been the equivalent of
30, 40 bucks?
like 40, 50.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. All right.
The pound was still around $2, 2 and change, something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, I remember fairly specifically, because when I was doing money transfers, my rule of thumb was to just double the US dollar price, or to half the number of US dollars, or to double the amount of pounds to figure out
How much
the
it was? Yeah. Okay.
I think that was still technically a little low for what it was. It was still like 2 and change, especially once you figure in the transfer fees and conversion stuff that you're paying with the currency conversions.
Yeah.
But it's like, as a basic rule, like whatever I was paying in New York City, whatever I was used to paying in New York City, if I just cut it in half, that was the London price.
Makes sense. Yeah. But no.
So,
I mean,
that was still, and I mean, prices for thumb drives stayed around there. It was just that the amount of capacity for the thumb drive went
yeah.
up very, very quickly. Because like a couple of years later, I was buying God, do you remember when they made thumb drives
Mm-hmm.
that were actually just like these giant bricks with a little fold-out USB thing, or like a USB cable, kind of like a portable power bank now, that has the integrated cable?
Yeah, I kind of remember that.
I had one of those, and it was a really big deal because it was 12 gigs, and I could buy it for $25.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, this is amazing. We are totally living in the future, because
I mean,
my very first computer had a 20 meg hard drive.
yeah.
It's like, I can store 1,000, or no, not 1,000. Store like 500 of my first computer on this.
My first hard drive was a 10 gig, I believe. It was from a Commodore PET, and then I adapted it to connect it to my Commodore 64.
Wait. Gig or meg?
Oh, you're right. It probably was meg, yes.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
if it was a Commodore, if it was a Commodore anything,
Yeah, it would have to be meg.
No, you're right. It was a
you were not getting multi-gig spinning Rust.
True.
My first hard drive that was actually for my computer was 6.8 gig. The sticker on the front of it, one of the selling points was that it was Y2K compliant.
So around that time was when I got my first laptop,
Ooh, okay.
and that had a 20 gig hard drive. And a few years later, I got an iPod.
Which generation?
It was made by HP.
That generation. Oh yeah.
That-
Yeah, all right.
Generation that was not made by Apple.
Yeah.
And I realized when I was trying to load up the iPod that I could not, in fact, load up the iPod. Because the iPod had the exact same storage capacity as the laptop I was connecting it to.
So you couldn't fill the iPod. Is that what you meant?
I could not fill the iPod because doing so would have filled up the laptop on the hard drive before I could fill up the iPod.
Yeah.
So what I actually ended up doing was repartitioning the iPod and using half of it as a portable backup drive for the laptop.
Well, there you go. That'll work. So nowadays, I mean, USB equipment is so inexpensive that
Oh yeah,
these two guys right here, when you take them apart, are actually
oh yeah.
Whoa,
Yeah,
that's cool.
right. So one's a 32, one's a 64, and the combination of them cost me about $15 shipped here from China.
Ooh.
Yeah, let's see. So I have we cannot read that, Beaches. It is still focused on your face.
How's that?
No.
That's very close and blurry.
So you have to keep it in that position, just further away from the lens.
How's that look? No.
Still further, almost there, further,
No.
further. And now it's too small to read, but it's in focus.
Yeah.
This is 128 gigabytes.
No
It ran me
way.
$20.
Yeah, I am trying to find
So
a way of viewing the capacity of my network storage device.
Like network attached storage, or
So
yours is also too close to
it's
yeah, it's a 128 as well.
so I have an old Soho router
Okay.
that has a bunch of USB ports on it, and at one point, I ended up getting for free a portable USB hard drive.
It's a good thing. Yeah.
And I think that was about 2 terabytes. And so I kept trying to use it with my Linux machines, and it turned out that there was this thing where it had a weird drive controller on it,
Okay.
but the drive controller was not recognized as a USB mass storage device because the UID for the controller was not in the range of things that Linux recognized as.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, these days they probably finally updated that list and it would work now. But at the time, I just got so frustrated with trying to deal with it and having to run this whole chain of ridiculous scripts that I had built up to make it work. I figured out, you know what? Let me just see if this works by attaching it to one of these USB ports that I'm not using on this router. And it worked. And so now it's a sort of a home file server.
If you have, so you need to know how much storage space is left, or what?
I mean, I could just log into the router and it would tell me.
Yeah.
The point is, it's a 2 terabyte drive that I literally got for free because of an error on a web form.
That's pretty cool.
So the fact that I'm able to get a 2 terabyte USB storage device for free because of a typo.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. Yeah, and that nobody
It
would
also
be like,
it gives you an idea of just how expensive these devices are.
yeah.
You can literally make a typographical error and it does not matter.
It's not worth the amount of headache that it would take for you to ship it back and
Right.
blah blah blah. So like,
The shipping probably costs about as much as the wholesale price of the thing to the retailer.
might be true.
You know, at that point, yeah, okay, USB storage is kind of far beyond anything that we used to have.
Yeah, it's pretty nuts.
Like back when, like when I was young and I was first dealing with computers, it was a big deal just to have a hard drive at all.
That was definitely before my time.
Well, as the guy
Wow.
who used Commodore PET hard drives, I can relate to
Right.
that.
You know, if I had a few minutes to poke around, I could probably actually wait. Let's see if I can get at it. Not going entirely off camera. Oh, almost. I think I've got it. Yes. Here we go.
Mission success. Ooh.
Let's see that again so we can guess the size. I'm going to guess that's an 8-inch. No. I can't tell, but it doesn't have. I think it is.
Hold on.
Has no notch in the corner.
Hold on. Well, it's definitely not.
Are you getting a ruler?
Nope.
I'm going to measure it with a beer can.
I could do that, but actually,
Beer can for scale.
let's see. Backup disk, backup disk.
The can is.
Here we go. Here is an old registry editor boot disk.
Yes.
And you know what size this is, right?
Yeah. Peas
There we
and
go.
rice.
So my first guess was right.
You were right.
It's an 8-inch. Yeah, it has no notches in the corners. That's how I knew it.
Yeah, well, it's got this little bit of foil tape down here to cover up the write protection authorization
Yeah.
notch.
So the 5/4 were on the sides, though, where the 8s were at the bottom.
Yeah. But in fact, this is a Wang Laboratories 8-inch, single-sided, single-density, hard sector, 8-inch floppy disk.
Wang
Laboratories.
That's beautiful.
They were like one of the major computer companies in the late 80s up until the very early 90s.
Were they acquired by Compaq?
No. So Compaq was originally Digital Equipment Corporation, which was Wang's major competitor. And Wang, as far as I know, didn't really get acquired or anything. They just shut down eventually. But this is OIS 100 software package Peripherals 1, Release 7. Copyright 1987, Wang Laboratories Incorporated.
So 1987 would have been the year that came out, or just the copyright date?
I mean, the copyright date is usually within a year of the release date. Sometimes it's the year before, sometimes it's the year of. It is only very, very occasionally the year after. I mean, if you get well, actually, they don't really show much on the boot screens these days for Windows 10, do they?
No, I don't think so. I'm not sure I've actually really seen Windows 10 boot all that often.
Yeah, I was gonna say I have no.
I've seen it boot. I've seen it boot a lot, but the like at least as recently as Windows XP, you'd still spend enough time on the boot screen that they would actually put information on there, beyond a logo and a little progress bar, and so that would still usually have a copyright date. Except that with Windows, it was usually a range of copyright dates. So it was like the very, very first copyright that Microsoft filed on like the very first version of Windows, or possibly going back to the DOS. So it was like 1980 something.
Yeah.
Up to whenever that major version release was.
Yeah. I don't know. I think the point that I was going to go with is that if it was 87, then that disc is older than I am.
Surrounded by fucking children.
Oh no, I started with CPM, so not really.
Hey.
Actually, I started...
No, wait. CPM or CPM 86?
I would have been CPM 86. Although my first home computer was a Commodore 64, but then when I went to work for Commodore, then I used to run Ultrix on our DEC VAXes.
So, CPM 86 was the port of CPM to the Intel 8086 architecture.
Well, that predates MS-DOS, right?
So, no. That was actually why MS-DOS took off the way it did. Because what happened was CPM, or the company that made CPM, was taking so long with their port to the Intel architecture that this guy in Seattle, I think he named his company something like Seattle Software Solutions or whatever. Basically, it was the Linux of its day. It was this guy who said, you know what, I really love CPM, and I really want to keep using it as a great OS, but I have this Intel machine that I want to run it on, and they haven't ported it yet. So he wrote his own mostly compatible work-alike software that he called DOS. And it was basically just a fan version of CPM made for the Intel x86. And he happened to know Paul Allen, or Paul Allen somehow got wind of this project. And when Bill Gates was starting Microsoft and said, hey, I heard about this computer that IBM is making. We could make a lot of money by selling them an operating system. And so they go and they negotiate with IBM, and they, the whole, we will license a copy of our operating system to you for sale with each computer that you make. And IBM said yes. And they leave the meeting, and Paul Allen says to Bill Gates, why did you say that? We don't have an operating system. But you said you know a guy who has one, right? We'll just go buy it from him. And so they go up there, and they basically they find this guy is in his pokey little office doing nothing. He's running this company basically just to support his little homebrew project. And they say, we will pay you a big pile of money for your operating system. And he goes, what? They go, here's a pile of money. It is yours if you give us your operating system. And he goes, cool. I'd like to pay my bills. Yeah. There you go. And that's where, and so they took it and they renamed it MS-DOS. Yeah. And then they actually did several different licensed versions for various other computer manufacturers, including Digital Research. Or Digital Research, which is where DR-DOS comes from. It was just MS-DOS sold under license to a different manufacturer.
I don't remember Digital having anything that ran a DR-DOS. Huh.
It might have actually been Digital Equipment Corporation.
Oh, DEC? Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, which then became Compaq.
Yep, which then became Dell. Well, got acquired by Dell.
No, they got acquired by HP.
Oh, did HP buy them? Okay.
Compaq was bought by HP, and then, like, sometime long down the road, HP sold off parts of it. And I think Dell might have acquired some of their manufacturing capability because HP didn't need it. But there was a brief period around 2000 or so where HP and Compaq were slowly merging together. And so they had this whole thing about, like, on the shelves, HPs and Compaqs were competing for each other. And HP was slowly making Compaq the budget brand.
Yep.
Yeah.
I remember that.
Which actually was kind of sad because HP's biggest problem at the time was the fact that they were shipping incredibly faulty machines with even more faulty Windows images.
Do you remember Minix?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I never had much of a reason to use it, but yeah, I remember it.
I heard about it in school.
I mean, at the time, I actually had an AT&T branded computer that ran a version of System 5 Unix.
Yeah.
So I kind of was like, yeah, Minix, that's cool, but I have the real Unix. Why do I need Minix?
Well, because the real AT&T wanted money for the real Linux, or the real Unix rather. So that's
this was the real AT&T.
Yes, it was the real AT&T back then, not Southwestern Bell renamed as AT&T.
Nope, this was the real AT&T.
Yeah, I had some 9-track tapes that we used to load after hours at Commodore on the decks to run it.
But actually, the fun thing is I still remember enough of the absolute basics of using that machine that a few years ago at Hope, most years at Hope, we have some of the
It's
what was
March.
the vintage? Yes, March, the Mid-Atlantic Retro Computing Society.
Yep.
Will show up and do a little display. And a few years ago, it was the anniversary of the hacker crackdown, the thing that Bruce Sterling wrote a very good book about. Which, if you're not familiar with it, with like late '80s, early '90s hacker community and hacker society history, a very good book on the period. And that was when there was the raid on the 2600 meeting in Virginia, a bunch of other stuff. And so this guy actually had one of these computers because it was that exact computer, this AT&T UNIX PC. It was the exact same model as one that had been part of this Operation Sun Devil sweep by the Secret Service and the FBI and telephone company security on the hacker underground. And so he had a computer, the same model, and he wanted to restore it to exactly the state it would have been at the time. And he loaded it up with a bunch of copies of the various FRAC files that had been released up to that date. And so people kept messing with it, and he wasn't terribly familiar with AT&T UNIX. And so I actually had to help him fix the machine because he could not remember like the names of basic utilities because he was so used to the names for the equivalent utilities that BSD and the Free Software Foundation and various Linux developers had created to replace the original Unix utilities.
Well, hold on though. BSD is Unix, not Linux.
They're all Unixes of various sorts, but the thing
They
was
all
that,
are just different enough where it's not a one-to-one mapping necessarily. Everybody
Right.
has their own little, like, BDF versus DF versus...
Not really. I mean, so Berkeley licensed Unix from AT&T, but that was before System 5 was released by AT&T. So it is a
right, and that's sort of where it diverges.
source code.
Right, but the main thing though was that all of the utilities, your text editor, your mail client, all of this other stuff, a lot of that was not necessarily covered under that license.
No, you're right. They were all independent.
And so your you had Ed, you had Memo, you had eventually VI and Emacs and so on and so forth.
I still use VI to this day.
Me too.
I find for my purposes, Nano works fine. I don't need an entire operating system.
Oh yes, let's debate text editors of choice right now. That's a great idea.
Always.
But the point of this story was that the guy kept thinking that the utility that he was looking for was Memo, because he was used to BSD systems. The utility he actually needed was more.
Oh, yeah, all right.
Which is the text file reader that is that on modern Linux systems is replaced by less.
I mean, in fairness, more still exists. It's just a piece of shit.
Well, more does less than less. That's the problem.
Well, so it depends. So if you're on like an HPUX system and you use more, it's equivalent to less on Linux.
Yes. Well, the point was that the original AT&T Unix utility was more.
Yeah.
Yep.
Less doesn't exist.
Less was developed for Linux and under a free software license. And because it was supposed to be a work-alike replacement for more, as a joke, they gave it the name Less.
Yeah, because less is more.
Right. And so this was a trend with a lot of the early Linux and free software utilities, where their names were puns or jokes about the name of the original AT&T utility that they were replacing.
Of course.
The fact that Less allows you to use VI commands in it.
I mean, yes, over the years, they have made a whole bunch of improvements and it's evolved significantly. But when you're dealing with 80s tech, I mean, technically Linux doesn't even exist at that point in time, so...
But like more on like an HP Xbox is going to act like you can do all your VI, Shift G to go to the bottom of the file, G to go to the top of the file, / type in whatever you're looking for, question mark works.
I mean, a lot of that has been in more for a very long time.
Right, but like if you type in more on a Linux box, you're not going to get that.
Over time, it has also evolved, though.
Yeah.
But my original point in all of this was that very frequently, if you're familiar with Linux and you're on an unfamiliar licensed UNIX system, you can find the utility that you're looking for by thinking of the name of the Linux equivalent utility and trying the various sort of jokey opposite names.
That's true. That is true.
That was my point.
That's fair.
Now resume your editor war.
There's no war. VI is it. There is nothing else.
There's Nano.
You know what's funny is I see that listed pretty much on anytime somebody does a thing on the web, you know, when they're telling you how to edit something on a Linux box or how to fix this or change something. It seems like Nano is always the default editor that's in those types of how-to discussions.
Well, because it's getting shipped as the default editor on most major distros.
It's fairly ubiquitously available these days, and just as importantly, it does not require an entire article preceding that one about how to exit your editor.
Right.
Oh, come on. It's not that hard.
And also, Nano isn't that ubiquitous on Linux because Red Hat still hasn't included it by default.
They haven't? What the fuck, guys?
I don't know.
No, Red Hat, you still, like, it is not an installed editor by default. You have to install it.
I've been using SUSE for over 20 years now, so I don't care.
Is this one of the differences between Fedora and Red Hat? Because I feel like Fedora comes with Nano.
Yeah, there's a world of difference between Fedora and Red Hat. Fedora is the bastard stepchild.
I don't know. Do I have access to any Red Hat boxes from here? No. I don't know. I could have sworn, but I don't know. How much do I hate myself? Kind of a lot. Okay.
Loaded question, man.
Oracle Linux. Jesus. So my understanding... No, I want the download. Jesus, don't give me this crap. Oracle Linux is free to download. Installation media for Oracle Linux and Oracle VM are freely available from the software delivery cloud. Ugh. Okay.
No. Stay away.
The question is, I think I already have an account.
Why are we downloading Oracle Unix now?
Because Oracle Linux is actually essentially Red Hat.
Yeah, but why wouldn't you just download CentOS?
Because like
use Arch.
CentOS is Red Hat. It's not essentially Red Hat. It literally is Red Hat.
Look, I'm not taking the blame for this, okay?
I'm not going there, but I am going to go get another beer. I'll be right back.
There you go. That's what I was doing. I come back and suddenly we're downloading Oracle Linux for some reason.
Yeah, I don't understand why we're doing that either. Why are we doing that?
Beaches.
No.
Stop it.
Yeah, alright. It's going to have to be CentOS.
Leave Oracle alone.
Oracle's been through enough.
Just let it die a slow, peaceful death.
No, we can't do that. We have to
Yes,
still
yes,
use
we
the
can.
We should.
Oracle and Nagios both need to go away.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
I've never used Nagios.
You've
Oh,
never
God.
knowingly used it.
No, I haven't.
You're incredibly lucky.
Cool.
I believe you.
No, I've never worked at a shop that uses Nagios.
You've
Seriously.
never worked at a shop where you know that you're using it.
No, I know. I know we don't use it. We don't use it for monitoring. Which is what you use Nagios for, so...
Well, it's what you're supposed to use it for. You could never get it to stop running all the damn time for no reason. Or if you can get it to start running when you want it to. The problem I always had was I could get it to run when I didn't want it, and I couldn't get it to run when I did want it.
But, yeah, we don't use Nagios.
All right.
My current employer does not use Nagios. My previous employers didn't have any like Linux boxes to begin with, or anything to monitor really. And before that, I was in college, so
I bet you your college used Nagios.
Probably.
I could ask. Wonder if this sysadmin's online. Or they got rid of their Facebook. That's good. They
I mean,
did.
that's always a good thing.
That's good for them.
Less Facebook is always better.
The only thing Facebook is good for is posting memes about Ant-Man going up Thanos' ass.
I think I missed you posting that meme.
I did not post that meme.
Thank
You
God.
say that now. Oh. A huge sinkhole that forced the closure of a road in California has been blamed on squirrels.
What?
All right. Just like that Geico commercial. They're getting back at us.
I mean, that's why they're constantly attacking the power grid.
Oh.
Let's see. Also in California news, a naked man was hit and killed while running across Interstate 280 near San Jose.
Are you sure it's not Florida? I think you mixed it up. I think it's Florida.
Well, I'm reading the San Jose Mercury News, and it says San Jose.
Yeah,
I
but
mean,
are you
there could be a
sure?
San Jose, Florida.
I mean, it's also possible that it was a Florida man who managed to get to San Jose without killing himself, and then got killed in San Jose.
That would.
That's highly unlikely.
Yeah, that would
Well,
be
yeah,
impressive.
they have trouble getting out of the state of Florida.
Yeah.
By design.
Well, especially if he started naked in Florida.
I mean, that would be even more impressive.
It would be.
Get all the way across the country without clothes on.
that kind of sounds like a challenge. I kind of want to.
I mean,
accept
hey,
that challenge.
if some Florida man wants to,
you would make the news like Sasquatch sighting in.
Naked man crosses America.
That sounds like a
Huh.
terrible Netflix
I
documentary.
mean, that also sounds like
Well,
something that
it could be a Netflix documentary.
I mean,
So I was watching this
technically, at
week's
some point
episode.
in history, a naked human being did in fact walk across most of what is now North America. But that's,
I don't know that that's necessarily true.
Yeah, I would agree with Nick God on this one. I would. you wouldn't necessarily know, like, going cross country is already very difficult. Doing it naked.
I don't think it's a given.
Yeah,
Well-
I wouldn't say it's a given.
10,000 years ago, it's kind of how you got anywhere.
Yeah, but would you really have gone all the way?
No.
That's
You probably
the answer.
would have died of some easily preventable bacterial infection
Yeah, before the cancer could get you.
before then, or eaten a poisonous berry and shit yourself to death or something stupid.
Or have been eaten by
Or
something.
sunburn.
Yeah, there's
Exposure. Like, how long would it take you to walk across the U.S.?
183 days, roughly.
So, if you...
Why do you know that?
Came up with this
I think you're breaking up.
topic of conversation earlier today, surprisingly enough.
Really?
I also experiment in that. I also know that it is by wondering.
Who did what now?
Exactly.
I still have no idea what you said, so...
No, there was a lot of audio drop out there.
It's true.
I said nothing of value. Just move on.
Okay.
All right.
Well, can we back up to the part of this podcast where there was value?
Hi, I'm Nick God.
Nope, that's
Welcome
not
to the
value.
podcast.
Yeah, no, like, we'd have to just
I
throw
think
this
I
out
think we have
and
to go
not
back to
do...
before we started recording.
We'd have to go back before we thought about ever having a podcast.
Something like that, yeah.
I mean, I'm just saying.
Well, the demonstration where we got to see the typewriter was interesting, though.
Was that recorded?
Oh, that I don't know.
I think it might have been, but I'm not
Maybe?
convinced.
I'm not sure about that.
Huh.
The demonstration of the floppy disks was.
Yeah.
That's true.
So for our younger generation, they now know what an 8-inch floppy disk looks like.
You mean the
Damn
T5
children. All right, we're doing this again.
Oh, come on, he's just trolling you. Jesus.
Screw you, Nick God.
I think he's driving and probably can't see.
Well, that takes a little bit of the
I
fun out
mean-
of this.
Well, let me rephrase that.
I said a little bit. Hold on.
Like, he can see, but not, hopefully, what's on his presumable cell
Here we
phone
go.
screen.
This was actually in my floppy drive.
You actually have a floppy drive
Why?
Yeah.
attached to your computer?
To one of them.
I mean, I
I have
guess
a drive
that's
attached
fair.
to my computer.
I have a USB floppy drive that I keep in the closet. I bought it for $2 used at a thrift store.
Hey,
Along with a copy of Microsoft Windows 5.
this is
no,
a
MS-DOS 5.
this is a USB floppy drive,
Okay.
but it actually allowed me to justify writing off a $3,000 gaming rig as a business expense.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. I mean, whatever works.
Well, no, because when I built it, I decided, you know what, it's my first time going all out like this. I'm going to buy the top end SKU for Windows that I can get since I'm building a gaming rig. And it came with the built-in Windows virtual machine system with the built-in with a built-in Windows XP image in a virtual machine. And I had a client that I was consulting for who had been very, very carefully porting their Lotus organizer software from machine to machine since Windows 3.0. and their computer died, and we had to get them a new one. And this was just as it became really difficult to find a 32-bit desktop computer on the market.
Yeah.
He still had the original installation floppies for his Windows 3.0 software in the box and everything, but it was 16-bit. So
Yeah.
it was written for a 16-bit version of Windows back when it ran as a windowing system on top of DOS.
Yep.
So you couldn't run it on a 64-bit version of Windows because it was 16-bit software.
Was that a lion?
I think someone was...
The MGM.
Sure, it's the MGM intro, and
Yeah.
we're not going to go further into what that actually was. And so we could not reinstall the software on the guy's machine, but I was able to install it in a Windows XP virtual image, hook up his old hard drive, and recover his 20-something years worth of contact databases from this software, from his dead computer, export it to a semi-portable format, and then set him up with a relatively modern contact management application. And that's why having weird random bits of old tech is useful.
I mean...
Oh, also, I'm playing with old Dreamcasts, and therefore I am playing with old dial-up networking. That's a fun adventure.
How is your project with the Dreamcasts going?
Which project?
That's fine, that's fair. Okay.
Whatever the current one is,
Which one? So,
the one that you're talking about.
that one is going fairly well. I have... So there's a project to collect the Dreamcast, and that is like, I don't know, like 3/8 of the way complete. I have 5 working Dreamcasts, and I have 5 broken Dreamcasts, and I'm fixing the 5 broken ones to make 5 working ones. And then I have a project to get dial-up networking and getting old Dreamcast games working on servers, and that's going reasonably well, although most people have done all the work for that for me. And then I have a really ambitious project to take a Raspberry Pi or similar and emulate an ATA device to replace the optical drive in the Dreamcast with something that will fetch ROMs from a network. And that I haven't started it yet, but I'm, sort of vaguely figuring that out.
Cool.
It is pretty cool. It's insane and a little crazy. I'm just glad that your mad scientist skills are being put to use for, video games instead of killing everybody.
Oh, my army of robot death lasers. NASA hasn't launched them yet, so
Oh.
that's,
But you're
that's
going-
on hold for now.
You actually were able to convince NASA that they should launch your death satellites for you.
I mean, they don't know that they're death satellites, strictly speaking, but yeah.
Okay. Also, who was
Stop
it that was
violating
convinced
interspace
that
treaty.
I've touched Nagios and just didn't realize it?
Ha 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 ha! You have been touched by the darkness.
I feel really bad right now, guys.
You should.
Yeah, I literally told him that I was trying to settle a bet. And he was like, okay. He's like, what's Nagios ever used? He was like, yeah. I was like, fuck.
One of us.
There's no escaping it.
Yeah, it's the world's shittiest software that just refuses to die.
I mean, I doubt that it's the world's shittiest software.
No, it's the world's shittiest. So I'm doubling down on that. I meant what I said.
I mean, it's pretty terrible.
Okay.
Literally, no one understands how the network protocol works anymore. Literally, no one.
Oof. That sounds awful.
Yep. Yeah, it's terrible. This is the shittiest software ever created, ever, and I have given that all due consideration, and I stand by that.
Oh,
I've sort of lost track of this, but I'm just going to go with it.
As well, you should.
So I have like a minute 30 left before CentOS is done downloading.
Why are you downloading CentOS?
Because you told me to not. Well, actually, it's because they haven't created my Oracle account yet because they're worried that I might not be from the U.S. and might break export laws.
But what are you trying to
Again?
do?
Stop
It's
breaking
very-
export laws, man.
Yeah, I don't know why they think. I have a theory. It's dumb. They probably think I'm from Europe.
You're running a VPN?
I might have been when I was signing up for the account.
Ah.
Though actually, no.
Tisk tisk.
I was not on a VPN. I
Should
don't
always
think.
be on a VPN.
I mean, that's probably true.
I mean, not.
Or just never be on a VPN. Whatever.
One or the other, right?
It's, yeah.
Pick one,
I
dude.
mean, you don't want to be on a VPN if you're VPNing to your house and you're in your house. That's.
Yeah,
I mean,
that would be
you
kind
could.
of pointless.
You could do that, but
It would just introduce a lot of needless latency. And
I
network
mean-
overhead.
I've seen people do dumber things. But
We have all seen people do dumber things.
like install Nagios.
Like knowingly install Nagios.
Yeah.
Or, I mean, I'm sure all of us have at least glimpsed some sort of current events news coverage in the last 2 or 3 years.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Everything has been fine. Nothing's been on fire. I don't know what you're talking about.
No, everything is on fire.
I mean, if everything's on fire, then couldn't you just say that nothing is on fire?
Yes, and I have. Nothing is on
You
fire.
just did.
Okay.
You literally just said nothing's on fire.
Oh, cancel. Fuck. Ah, shit. Balls. Machine.
Entropy has overtaken us all.
We should only be so lucky. Storage,
It's
controller.
really slow. Very slow entropy.
Mhm.
It's caught up to you, you just don't know it yet.
Download.
Organs haven't started failing on you.
Did you say my organs haven't started failing? Because
Yeah.
my knees would like to
I mean,
disagree with you.
it's
Your
not
knees
so
are
much
not
that
organs.
it's not so much that your organs have started failing. It's that your organs have started all mixing together in a homogeneous blob of nothing.
Sounds attractive.
I mean, that's pretty advanced entropy.
That's the
Yeah.
only kind I know. I
Yeah.
should probably turn my GPS navigation off so it stops bugging me.
mean, you could do that.
Why would you do that?
Because I know where I'm going.
Are you sure, though?
I mean, I am not going to Charlottesville, and I realize that none of you understand that reference.
You're one of the stalker is watching this podcast and now knows where you are not going.
That's true. I was I had an adventure a couple weeks ago where I bought 61 LCD monitors from like 2005, like 4:3 aspect ratio, 1024 by 768, just gorgeous. I bought 61 of them for like $600, but I had to go get them. So I went on an adventure to drive a 26-foot box truck to go to Allentown, Pennsylvania, to pick up 2 pallets worth of monitors that filled less than 10% of the entire volume of the truck, and drive it all the way back. And that's during that time I learned that Pennsylvania doesn't know how to spell.
This is true.
And they have a town called Charlottesville, Pennsylvania, and Charlottesville is the center of all of the signs in Pennsylvania, and by extension, everything that is wrong with this world. Charlottesville is the epicenter and cause of all of it. It is coming for us all. Oh God, Charlottesville.
I mean, I can't disprove that, so sure.
It sounds like it's Bizarro Land Charlottesville. Oh, that was not what I wanted to do. Fuck. Okay, that. Oh, I froze VirtualBox.
Why? Stop virtualizing things.
But that's why I have so much RAM.
Funny story about Charlottesville that no one asked for.
You really didn't.
Please don't tell me that you stopped there.
The Wikipedia page for Charlottesville lists the most recent 2010 census population at 450. And that's not because no one lives in Charlottesville. It's because Charlottesville has swallowed them whole, and there are only 450 people left.
But according to Wikipedia, it is the home of Roadside America.
Is it?
Yes, it's they have like a miniature town, miniature trains and things. That's because Charlottesville is actually shrinking regular towns down to miniature size.
Oh, so they have a model village.
I'm pretty sure that I've seen this episode of Goosebumps.
Yep.
So at least now we know where they go.
The Twilight Zone did it first, all right?
I mean, the Twilight Zone is just the original Simpsons.
Goosebumps is just the Twilight Zone for kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Twilight Zone did it first.
That's okay. But Goosebumps did it for kids.
Well, kids
you
can
want
watch
to be a
the
kid?
Twilight Zone.
I want to be a kid.
I mean, when I was a kid, we just watched Twilight Zone.
I don't know how I fucked this up.
But
you did.
Yeah, so I downloaded the Arch Like Everything CD. So it's like the size of one DVD. It's like less than 8 gigs, so it fitting on like a single side.
Why? You still haven't explained what you're doing.
I think that it's weird that they don't install Nano by default.
What, are you just not taking my word for it? You're gonna fucking install an entire fucking operating system just to confirm what I told you?
You're going to wait.
That exactly that. That is exactly what I'm doing.
First of all, what is the image size?
7.5 gig. Anyway, so I'm trying to attach it, like I'm putting a disk into the drive, and it tells me that there's no bootable media found. So somehow I fucked up downloading it,
Yeah, because 7.5 gigs is not a CD image. That's way too big to be a CD or DVD. So you know.
7.5 would be a dual layer. Should be fine.
What?
Yeah, I mean, well, I guess you can use some of the funky formatting options with DVD to get a 7 gig image on there. But by default, they're like 4.5 gigs.
Hey, good news, everybody! My Oracle account has completed the export validation process. It's only taken several goddamn months.
Oh, lucky you. Where are you exporting it to?
The EU, obviously.
Oh God, no, no, you fool! Damn children. Don't know how good they have it. Not having to worry about single layer versus double sided.
Yeah, you just
Single
DD
layer
that shit directly onto a thumb
layer
drive and
optical media.
boom.
Dude, I'm dealing with the Dreamcast. I'm dealing with GD-ROM.
Yeah, I know. I'm saying he's thoughtlessly writing a 7.5 gig image to an optical disc.
No.
Without
No, time out. It is a virtualized
No,
disc.
the point is, you used to have to be super fucking careful about, can this optical drive handle this optical disc, even though they both say DVD on it.
Yeah, I remember. I'm not that young.
The point
Yes, you
is,
are, you damn child.
The point is, you're
Yeah,
wrong,
virtual
and you
machine.
should feel bad.
Wrong about what, though? Can you clarify what I'm wrong about?
Yes.
Glad we cleared that up.
Oh, jeez. Oh, jeez. I don't know. I think the important thing to know is just that everything comes with Ed.
No, Red Hat does not come with ads.
A lot of
Fucking
things-
really?
A lot of things don't come with that.
But it's the standard text editor.
No, it's not.
For AT&T Unix, sure.
Yeah.
And if you want to start an argument about that, I have to go over to the other side of the room and dig out the box full of AT&T manuals.
I don't think you have to go that far.
Well, that's where the box is.
Yeah, but you don't have to pull out the manuals. I'll take your
Yeah,
word for it.
but once I've done that, then I have to find someone to drive me down to your place so I can hit you in the head with all the manuals.
You know, you could take the train.
And there's like 30 of them.
Yeah, they're anything like the old deck manuals.
Oh, no, these are the old AT&T manuals.
Yeah, so you got a big set of binders.
Oh yeah, and the good ones too. They don't break because it's actually sheet metal covered in fabric.
Oh, ouch.
I mean,
So
Here-
what you're
hold on.
saying,
There you
what
go.
you're saying is Beecham's going to be bleeding from the head.
well,
Depends
if
where
you-
you get to.
so this is not actually an AT&T manual, but this is actually the even beefier version.
Oh, God.
This is what I keep my IANA protocol and port number reference in. I don't know if you can actually see that, or if that's even right side up.
It is IANA assigned numbers, protocol numbers, port numbers, with some handwriting.
I did use my web browser for that, but
Well, yeah, the point was that I would use this to unfuck my router. So when you're router isn't working, it's kind of hard to get things off the internet.
You mean you don't have a copy of Wikipedia just lying around?
Remarkably, I don't. Instead, what I do have is a full-bound
Paper.
archive.
But paper's flammable. That's a fire hazard.
That's why fire extinguishers. Also, it's in a metal binder with hinges.
That's still a fire hazard.
Good job there, Vanna, on pointing out the hinges.
That was beautiful.
Look, the hinges are important, okay?
Jet fuel steel beams, a paper can.
You said words, but I don't think that they were a sentence.
It said jet fuel can't melt steel beams, but paper can. Don't look it up. It's not true.
Alright, I don't know how I fucked this up, but it's fucked.
Again?
I downloaded the minimal image and attached it, and it still won't fucking boot.
Do I need to install a CentOS box for you to verify that it doesn't have nano?
You know what?
Alright.
I'm being dumb. Hold on.
Yes, you are.
I have
I'm going to ask you a beginner question. You sure you got the proper configuration to boot from that media?
Yeah.
Okay.
Should be the default. Should just work.
Well, it depends.
I can walk you through how to do this.
No.
Open up a web browser
No.
and go to www.bing.com.
Oh my fucking
Oh,
god.
you must be kidding me.
In the search box that pops up, go ahead and click in there, type Google, and click on the first entry. And then when you get to Google search engine, in the little box, click there and type in digitalocean.com, even though you don't need the .com, just do it anyway. And then you click on there, you pay them $5, and they will give you a CentOS box, and you don't have to install anything.
Actually, what's really cool about that? The answer's no. Fuck.
The ultimate point is, screw you, I have tractor feed paper.
Yeah, where did you get that?
From my dot matrix printer
Wow.
that feeds from a big bin of tractor feed paper.
So did you like live in a museum?
I'm pretty sure he does.
No, this is my house.
Typewriters, 8-inch disc, tractor-fed paper with tractor-fed printer.
Let's see. What do I got over here?
Okay.
Either that or he lives in my basement. I don't know which.
Look at you having a basement. Ooh la la.
To be fair, you need tractor-fed paper so that you can have a tractor-fed fire.
Or just buy a John Deere.
Alright,
I would light a John Deere tractor on fire. Can we do that? Can we bring to Next Hope? Can we bring a John Deere tractor and light it on fire in the expo hall?
I mean,
I'm pretty sure the fire marshal objects to that.
I mean, you don't know until you ask them, though.
I mean, why would we ask when we could just do it?
Ask for forgiveness. It's easier.
But anyway, actually, so this has been something that I've been planning for Hope for a number of years now, which is, so I have this PBX, this old AT&T Lucent hybrid PBX, and the last couple of years I have been trying to set up a small telephone network in Hope. And every year I make slight progress and then nothing ever actually happens because it still ends up being just me trying to figure this damn thing out, and no one else in the world seems to give a shit about figuring out how to get this this Merlin Legend PBX working.
Yeah, it's because Merlin PBXs are the devil.
Or they're awesome?
No, that was Nortel.
Yeah, but we don't have that kind of scale. And also, I don't have a semi-trailer to carry it on.
Valid
I
point.
do.
Well, fine. You can go
except
buy a Nortel
Well,
PBX,
well, hold,
drive it to a
hold,
hotel with a semi-trailer.
Hoop. Except that Joe and I have made the decision that we're not driving to Hope next year. Right?
Oh yeah, I did tell you to stop me at any cost from doing that, so that's fair.
What if you
I would
started
really
Marvel?
hate to severely injure you, but, you know.
At any cost.
I know. I'm just saying that if I can dissuade you by just saying we said we weren't going to drive, that means I don't have to progress up the chain.
Well,
Okay.
that's when you start to
can we-
escalate things.
Can we have a brief timeout? 1 second.
Why? I was just...
According to Yum History Summary for Nano, I don't know, I guess it came with the box.
What came with the box?
Nano, for a CentOS box.
Oh, are you? Did you spin it up with DigitalOcean like I told you to?
I mean, I have a DigitalOcean droplet already running, which is why I said I was being really stupid, so I just logged into
Right.
that. Now all
Yeah,
I'm trying
I
to do is
forgot that-
determine if I had been the one that
I mean,
installed
that's
Nano, or if it
kind
just
of
came
par
with the
for the course
release.
here.
I forgot that DigitalOcean has their own version of CentOS.
God damn it, you're such a dick!
I legitimately forgot about that until you mentioned that it was installed. I'm sorry. I will get you a CentOS box that doesn't have it, I promise.
Okay, wait, hold on.
Oh, wait, no, actually...
Is
you
the
can log
Radio
in-
Statler
log in-
infra? I should log into that, right?
Yeah. I mean,
Sure,
they all
do
have
that.
Nano installed on there, but I installed all of them.
Oh god. Yeah, but I don't have root access.
Yeah, you do.
Do I?
I wouldn't know why you wouldn't.
Because
Isn't it
it's
your
his
VM?
box. I just have an account on it.
Yeah, but you have a charge.
Ah,
It's snowing in Hack's house.
Yeah, dude, you should have root access through sudo.
Okay.
You have the same access I do. I'm pretty sure.
Now just read out the sudo password over the air.
yeah, we'll cut it out later.
Sure. Or something.
It's asterisk, 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 asterisk.
That's my password too.
And when you type that into the computer, it actually spells Hunter 2.
But, like,
Awesome.
don't tell anybody that. Oh, that's the okay.
Wait, that's the password on my luggage.
Is that...
But well, Beaches is doing something stupid again.
It's not stupid. It's less stupid than previously.
It's still stupid. But back to the actual point I was trying to get at.
And ever so slightly insulting, actually.
Well, I mean, that's like everything that he does.
I'm not that bad, am I?
I mean, you're not that good.
I didn't say I was perfect. Just not a complete asshole. Alright. I'm just going to do sudo-i.
So, the point I was getting at was that the ultimate goal of this entire thing with building this telephone network at Hope year after year is, one, to build it out enough that there's a lot of activity on it that isn't mostly limited to me using it to annoy the security staff and test the extensions that I run. And also, the idea is that if we build it out enough and I can hook up that tractor feed printer to the accounting port on the PBX, so that it will print out a real-time log of the telephone system over the entire course of the conference. So that at the end of the conference, when we're doing closing ceremonies and everyone's up there, you've got the NOC team coming up there saying, "You people didn't use enough bandwidth. Here's a histogram of network usage," and so on and so forth. We would be able to walk up there to a manual and plop down a nice thick bundle of tractor feed paper and say, "Emmanuel, here's your phone bill for the conference."
So I'm not telling you to give up on your dreams and go home, but I don't personally see a way to get people to use that phone system in any kind of real volume.
Yeah, I mean, even the phone system that gets set up at like MagFest doesn't really get used all that much, except for when you call people and then conference them into like, I don't know, extension 420 and then hang up.
So
which is the phone equivalent of shitposting, but I digress.
The thing is, the last couple of times that I've done this, I've got people who are like, "Oh yeah, I've got a BBS box that I want to bring and hook up to that so that people can try it out." And hey, I've got a telephone patch to give it a VoIP bridge to the outside world, and these people have a bunch of bank of old payphones that we could hook up for public calling, and there are all these people that have these little projects and they just don't have a telephone system. They're all like based on either retro computing or old tech that people want to revive or show off or use to show the younger generation what things were like for us old people, I guess. But to do that, they need a telephone system to hook it up to, and they don't really want to go the whole route of setting up their own VoIP bridge and then negotiating with the NOC for network connectivity for it and so on. And instead of having like a dozen or so different people all with their own individual projects trying to negotiate all of these things.
Well, so if you bring the PBX and you can get enough people to bring old telephones and you can get somebody to bring that VoIP adapter, then you can actually make calls from the old phones out to the real world. That may get you enough people to give your tractor.
I know I probably will never actually achieve my dream of having a nice thick bundle of paper to drop down on the table at closing ceremonies.
Well, so one thing to think about is the one thing that I was always trying to do with MagFest's phone system, actually, when I was doing shit with MagFest's phone system, was to get it hooked into the hotel's PBX as just another line so that people could use the phones to call rooms in the hotel, and that actually provides a utility.
Yeah, I mean, that would be another possibility.
You know what would be really cool, actually?
Whose room are we calling, though?
So,
well, you can imagine, like, hey, I'm down on the mezzanine floor, and I want to see if anybody's in my room because I left whatever the fuck widget in there, and I want somebody to bring it down to me. I can just call up there real quick.
Or I mean, one of the things that even the conference staff has been asking is if I can extend the telephone network up to the 18th floor to provide telephones for the AV team who are manning who are staffing the soundboard and everything, doing the video recordings, so that they can call down or call somewhere else on the floor to get relief staff or to say, hey, where's the speaker? They were supposed to be here 10 minutes ago.
Yeah.
All of this stuff where they can't have open radios and they can't just wander off to go hunt down someone.
Yeah.
And, this is, a conference that's a weekend.
Yeah. Do you know what would
You don't want to give out your personal cell phone number to random people that just happen to end up on the same volunteer team with you, and you don't want to go and lay out for a burner phone and all the trouble that managing a second phone is, even if all that is to provide you a temporary phone number. So it's all achievable on a technical level. It's that it's a very big project, and it's a lot more than me with my budget of a handful of pocket lint and no contact prior to the event with the hotel, with a lot of the conference staff, with a lot of the other people that want it. And like a lot of these other projects are like, oh, hey, I hear you do a phone system thing at Hope. I'm like, yeah, I'm in the process of packing the whole thing up in order to get it there in 2 days. And like, oh, cool. Well, I have this whole thing. And I'm like, well, that's great, but that requires me to somehow source an extra line card and a whole shitload of adapters and some hardware and another half mile of cable.
Yeah, I mean, like, that's the kind of thing I would totally be down for helping with, the problem being that I'm running a radio station instead.
Sure. And I mean, even if it's like some of it is just a matter of people, like I really have to say a huge thanks to GI Jacks and Side Pocket, well, GI Jacks mostly, from DC 201, who last year were a huge help to me by providing out of their own pockets a couple of reels of cable so that I could do this last year.
So, what if you merged Radio Statler with your phone system to do an hour or 2 hours of some type of a call-in show?
I mean, we actually have sort of tried that once or twice. We ran into a few problems. The first time we tried it, it was technical issues with the PBX being bulky and annoying because, yeah, it's kind of a shit PBX in a lot of ways, but
well, it is a loose end tech.
Yeah, I mean, but it works eventually. It's just that it's not really designed to be stood up and programmed from the ground up in like 3 hours.
So
but the other thing is that now the problem is that because of some communications issues and some brain farts on my part, our analog phone patch is gone.
That's actually not as much of an issue because I have one. I just didn't bring it. I didn't bring it last time.
Well, so I'm still out what is now like a $300.
Yeah, and I feel like that's partly my responsibility.
And I mean, it's a lot of people's fault, and I'm angry about the loss of the equipment. I am not angry at.
No, I mean, that's understandable. But so I had
when I still had an analog phone line, and I was trying to turn my own Radio Statler program into a semi-regular podcast, we were making heavy use of that, and God, I still have to hunt down those audio archives and actually do something useful with them.
The audio archives for Statler?
No. 26 o'clock. Neo and Rob T. Firefly and I and a few other people that actually lived relatively close to each other got together and did several recording sessions.
Oh, for like your podcast.
For
Okay.
what was going to be an attempt to turn 26 o'clock into a semi-regular running between conferences thing, and then this was before the Radio Statler podcast thing.
Yeah.
The other problem with doing call-ins, because when we did Radio Statler the first 2 times, we had VoIP systems that we did call-ins with, and they were all universally terrible.
Oh yeah.
The callers, the questions, or the system?
All of the above, really, but like mostly the callers that were calling in and the content we were getting was just not worth airing at all.
Yeah, and I mean, there's some of that is. Some of that is a result of the fact that Radio Statler does not have like a full-on commercial radio station style staff where have a producer screening calls and managing like 15 different phone lines that they can patch in at whim.
Well, I mean, at a technical perspective, there were multiple opportunities for me to build out a full-fledged like talk show style radio system.
Right, but you still need a skilled producer or someone managing that.
Yeah.
I mean,
it was never worth it.
Like I've been on Off the Hook a couple of times when they were actually taking calls.
Yeah.
And like if you've ever listened to if you've ever actually called into Off the Hook, the whole you'll know this experience, but it's literally you're sitting there listening to a dial tone, and then all of a sudden you'll just hear hello, and you go what? Because you've been sitting there listening to a dial tone for 12 minutes, and you've completely forgotten what it was that you called in about, and then it turns out, well, now you're on the air on an actual FM station, and it's just it's not a good recipe, and also, obviously Radio Statler does not have the sort of listenership that a full power FM station in a major metropolitan area
for
has.
some reason. Who knows?
Just,
I honestly don't understand. Like, we should have thousands of people.
I mean, we probably do. The issue is really more on having the infra and having somebody that'll actually screen calls to find good people to put on air.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
the harder part of the equation. The technicalities of it, we're all very smart people, and some of us have more disposable income than we probably should, so I don't know. But, okay,
I'm at a point where every time Hope rolls around, I am dealing with coordinating staffing for Tool.
Yeah.
I am helping manage, well, not really. I'm vaguely involved in Hope volunteer staff, where I spend a huge amount of time, and I'm still not entirely sure what the hell it is I do. I've got, in theory, I'm booked for 4 hours minimum on the air with Radio Statler, plus occasionally getting roped into other things, being on panels, speaking, and all of this usually while I am undergoing some sort of terrible respiratory infection and or suffering heat stroke. Usually
a common trope.
I mean, there was the year I actually developed hypothermia.
Yeah. Which
is an impressive feat for late July in Manhattan.
Yeah.
But I managed it.
And you should be proud of that, by God.
I am. It's a great story about like the crazy things that happen at Hope. Oh, by the way, there's that guy that developed hypothermia during the conference one time. How that happens, and but the point is that it's to really turn this project into what I would like it to be and what it really could be involves it becoming a much larger project than just me saying, hey, I'm going to rope someone into helping me drive a couple boxes of old telephones and third-hand PBX that I got off of eBay down to the hotel, and then plug it in, hope for the best for a couple of days, and then get horribly sick and say, all right, guys, I'm either going to die or I'll recover from this in a few days. I'm going home. Like shortly before closing ceremonies.
Yeah. I mean, I think it would probably be easier on you if you had like a site with contact deets up about, like, I don't know how projects really get started, and Joe, you would know better about this.
That's part of the problem.
Radio Statler.
I have no idea how to go about that because it's never something I've intentionally done.
Yeah, so the problem is Hope used to have a way for projects to get started, and all of that has sort of faded away, and they don't really have a good way of doing that at all anymore. So, yeah, I don't fucking know. Other than, like, doing it every year or every 2 years, and when people are like, hey, this is really cool, be like, yo, I've got this mailing list, Google group, or whatever the hell. If you want to help next time, we can do something, and then do it that way. But that's the only thing I can think of is.
Yeah, well, I mean,
it's painfully slow.
It is, but you've been bringing the PBX for the past at least 4 years, right? If not 6.
At least the last 2 hopes.
Maybe you should just set up like a mailing list and a little baby website that's just like, hey, do we do PBX? Because I mean, people contacting you 3 days out is a pain in the ass, but if they contact you a year and a half out,
right?
I mean, group of people that are like, oh yeah, I'll bring this thing and I'll bring blah and then I'll bring this, and then everybody kind of figures out who's bringing what, and shit kind of shows up, and then you can delegate out. It's like, oh hey, you go run all this cable, you go do this.
Yeah, I mean, this last time I spent probably half the time that I was running cable for this was teaching the volunteers for the knock how to terminate UTP.
Right.
And when you're having to, and I mean, that's the other thing, is just the number of people who have the time and energy to volunteer and already know the ins and outs of telecoms cabling.
They're already doing other
is
stuff.
Vanishingly small.
Yeah.
I think you're thinking about it the wrong way.
Well, I mean,
you're thinking about getting volunteers and using them. What you should be doing is using the people that come to Hope anyway.
I'm not just doing that.
Well, I'm just saying that there's probably a set of people that come to Hope that like this shit and and are not volunteering that you can then convince to volunteer doing this stuff for you.
I mean, there is that. It's just one of those things of the amount of work that happens to that needs to happen at very specific times.
Yeah.
Is really the problem. Because, like, having someone come into the conference and discover this project and go like, oh, hey, cool, I want to help out. I can be great. Here's the directory. Here's the operator's console / call director.
Yep.
Here's how you direct calls. I can train you up in 5-10 minutes, and you can be my operator for the weekend or for a couple hours, whatever it is.
Yeah, hopefully not an entire weekend.
Well, but before any of that can happen, I need to run a couple of miles of telephone cable.
Yeah.
Get it down to different distribution points. Place wall jacks. Patch in various telephones. Test all the extensions. A lot of this stuff are things that even the technicians currently employed by Verizon struggle to get right on a day-to-day basis. And they're dealing with something where it's their full-time job. They have tons of time in training, and in theory, they know exactly what they're doing, and they've got documentation guiding them and all this stuff. And I'm kludging it together using literally boxes of random bits and bobs that I bought off eBay for like $20. Like I will literally buy. I literally used to buy just like random cardboard boxes about yay big of random telco stuff.
Yeah.
On eBay for like $20, and it would be like, oh yeah, here's a fuse off of a central office distribution rack. Here's a spudger. Here's a thing. Here's just like 50 unused stick on 4C 6P telephone connectors that go on a wall.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to I'm just kludging this stuff together to basically play Baby Bell for a weekend.
Yeah, I mean, Beaches has the
In
right
the-
idea.
like,
You
the breakdown and the operation is the relatively easy part, and I can do, like a lot of people can very quickly do, here's how it works, here's what button you press, you'll be okay for an hour or two, I'm going to go get lunch. Getting all of this stuff wired up, navigating the geography of the hotel to get the cabling done correctly.
Yeah, I mean, Beaches has the right idea. You just need to find the people that are into this stuff. And to make sure that when you do find them, when you do come across them, you keep them engaged throughout the year, which means having some way to keep in contact, right? And communicate. And that's how that works.
Yeah.
And that's one of my very, very weak points.
Yep. Mine too. Believe me, I get it. But like just having a mailing list where you can point people, or, you know, even just like, hey, write down your email address and I'll make sure to reach out, or whatever. Like anything to get.
Mailing lists are good. Having an IRC, if you're already on IRC all the time, just make a new channel on 2600net.
Now, I need to get back on IRC. It's been a while.
But yeah, like, I mean, just like, that's kind of the reason why I wanted to do the Radio Statler podcasts. Wasn't because I wanted to make a podcast, because this is not really the way that I would, like, if I was going to do like a podcast, I don't think it would be this, really. I feel like if it would have like structure, maybe
a script and some things thought out ahead of time.
Maybe not a script, but like topics, sections, segments, stuff like that.
I mean, to be fair, we did try.
We did
when
try,
we first started,
but I don't. It's not our style. Radio Statler as a style, that's not.
Yeah.
As far as formatting for content goes, that's not really how it works, and that's fine. But like, I wanted to do this so that we'd have an excuse as the people that do stuff for Radio Statler or are involved with Statler to, hey, we still exist. I'm glad you still exist. Let's talk. Let's be engaged with each other so that we don't just, like, fall off the face of the earth for 2 years and then suddenly, you know, well, like, it's not 2 years. It's like a month out, people start sending emails and start chatting, and then, oh god, it's con time, and then it just tapers off, and then it builds back up. And, I don't know. It's better to have, like, hey, let's talk about ideas. What do you think we should do next year? Let's do these projects. Let's do this.
We should blow ourselves up by lighting a John Deere tractor on fire.
Yeah, I still don't think we can get the fire marshal to agree with that, and by proxy...
It won't matter, we'll be dead.
Also, okay, so even before we get to that, where are we going to put this purported tractor?
Well, wait
I
a minute.
mean, we got an entire... We got that first booth through, didn't we?
Yeah, but does it have to be a full-size tractor?
Look, I can drive a tractor up the escalator. That's fine.
I think the hotel will object.
I don't think they will after we blow it up.
I see. So up the escalator is not the important
I think
part.
after we blow up the tractor, us driving up the escalator is not going to be the thing they object to.
Okay, there is that.
But, I mean, that doesn't matter, because we've already come to the conclusion that at that point we're dead.
Yep. It's a foolproof plan.
Well,
It's a plan for fools, I'll give you that much.
yeah, it's a foolish plan.
Yeah. Joe, I looked ages ago, but you are correct. It was installed with Nano, Have GED, Have again, and Vim.
Do not, in fact, start Vim.
Why? What's wrong with Vim? Vim's great.
Yeah, you'll just be trapped there for all eternity.
No, not if you know how to exit.
Yeah, but how do you learn how to exit?
Read the directions.
You can't exit.
I mean, okay, so you can escape Vim also. It's actually trivially easy to escape Vim without quitting.
But how? But you need to learn how, which requires the man page, which you can't read inside Vim.
Alt F2.
I prove you wrong. You can definitely read the man page inside of Vim.
Okay. I never managed to do that, which is why I resorted to either opening a second terminal window and first killing the process.
Actually, that's not...
Ha!
Okay, so there is a way to read it. I just did it wrong, and instead of reading it, I just printed it into my buffer. So I just now have a file that is the Vim man page.
I mean...
That's not far off.
No.
That's somewhat useful. It's more useful than not.
There we go. Okay, that does it. Alright, so if you do bang bang man vim, it will take the output of that command and dump it into the buffer. But if you do :bang man vim, that will actually bring you into a separate buffer that runs that command, and then you have man.
That's not making things better, and that also still requires you to be familiar with how to use Vim.
I'm just saying it's possible. I'm not saying it's good.
Right. My point is that once you started Vim, you need to know how to use Vim in order to not destroy everything.
For a guy who has
Otherwise,
binders with steel hinges and tractor-fed paper, you probably have manuals around like these, and that's your answer.
oh no, mine are brown, black, and white cloth covers in 3-ring format.
Stop measuring Unix divs.
VI, just read the book.
Boring.
Well, we don't need to anymore. So
Well, we don't. That's right, because we know how to use it.
Exactly.
So why are we having this conversation?
I don't know. You brought it up.
No,
I'm bored.
that was Beaches with
Yeah.
Vim.
Oh yeah, beaches.
Yeah.
The point is, you need to know how to use Vim before you invoke it, in order to be safe.
I mean, sure, but like for most other editors, like Ed,
Nano.
Why are we arguing about text editors? For real, this is the most stereotypical nerd bullshit. Let's
Because
stop
you
it.
won't listen to me bitch about antique phones. So, I'm appeasing you.
actually, speaking of, how do I exit Ed?
All right, that was worth it.
Is that the title of the episode?
Yep. I
Yep.
think
Yep.
that's it.
How
So,
to exit Ed. There we
So
go.
first, you need to save the file.
To quit Ed, use the command Q.
Right.
But I did Q.
But Q only will... So lowercase q
Shift
only
Q.
quits Ed. Right. You have to do uppercase Q
There you go.
in order to do it without saving. Oh, you and your Canadian Tire bonds.
Well, that's money. I'm going to try to donate this to your phone fund.
Does anyone still accept that?
Canadian Tire money? Of course.
Okay. I mean, it's been a while since I was in Canada, so
Oh, yeah.
I'm not entirely familiar.
Yep.
I have a VoIP box with asterisk that also has a bunch of analog phone lines in PCI cards that you are more than welcome to make use of. I bring it with me every year, but I don't have the time to configure it.
So part of it is that the Merlin system has the digital line cards,
Right.
which enables the 10, 15, 20, 30 button
Right.
call director models. And I have several of those to do call routing and operator duties. And that's kind of difficult to replicate on traditional analog phone lines.
Right. Yeah, but as a trunk, as a trunk line, it would.
Yeah, no, having that as a trunk line would probably work if we can sort out the fine details of interfacing the outgoing line on the Merlin to anything.
Right.
That's doable. It's it's like a couple of people came to me with things like, oh yeah, I've got this asterisk box and it's got a couple of analog lines we can patch things, and it became this weird ass Rube Goldberg sort of thing.
The best.
Yeah.
part.
Like, oh yeah, well, we'll just patch the outgoing line into this port, and then because you want your asterisk box to also have an internal extension, we'll patch another port
Right.
into one of the extension ports on the Merlin. It's like, but then all you do is you end up routing calls in circle. Never
I
get
mean,
anywhere.
to be fair, any system that you create at a hacker conference is going to turn into a giant Rube Goldberg machine. That's inevitable.
Yes, but the point is that it should be a Rube Goldberg machine that goes somewhere instead of a Rube Goldberg machine that just turns itself on.
Gotta start somewhere.
I've seen
I
the
can
kit
already
where you make the
I can
box
already
that
get
turns
the
itself
telephone
off and you
system to
turn
turn
it on.
itself on, is the point.
Yeah, haven't you ever seen the box where like you hit the switch and then the box opens up and it turns itself off and then it
Yes.
goes away?
Yes. The pointless machine.
Yeah.
The pointless machine. Yes, I've seen that, and we already have the concept. It's already pretty well developed.
Yeah.
We don't need more.
Yeah, we do. We need the telephone version of the pointless machine. I mean, to be fair,
We already have that.
the entire thing is the pointless machine.
No, look. If we want a pointless machine, I can just lug the PBX down there and only bring 2 phones.
Do you know how happy that would make me? I would be very happy. To have 2 phones connected
Your
with
happiness
like, a battery.
somehow translated into anyone else feeling happy, I'd be a lot more copacetic with this idea.
I think people would enjoy the hell out of that if you just had 2 analog phones, you stuck a battery in between them. It wasn't even a PBX. You just picked it up and you were connected to the other end.
I mean,
There's something magical about that.
there's yeah, okay, like just get me a really big ass low voltage DC battery and some resistors, and I'm pretty sure I can do that.
Yeah. I can do that.
Just we need like a deep cycle thing putting out about like 5 volts DC and like 1 or 2 amps.
I mean, wouldn't a DC power supply work?
Maybe. I have to pull up my old Bell system manuals and figure out the exact signaling specs. I mean, the real trick is getting them to ring.
Oh no! They don't ring. Don't have a
Oh,
ring. Just be like
that makes it easier.
you pick up the phone and you are connected electrically to the other phone. And if somebody else happens to pick up the phone at the same time, you can talk to each other.
I mean, that's
kind of gloriously amazing.
yeah. I mean that. I mean the really silly thing is that Western Electric actually built one of those.
I believe that.
They built it as a thing because back in like I guess the 60s or so, it was actually a thing where there were like high school classes about how to use the telephone.
Huh.
It was like a job skills readiness. It was like a job readiness program. Whereas like, here's how to use the telephone when you're, in a couple of years when you graduate and you have to get a job, you're going to be expected to use the telephone for business purposes. Here's how to answer the telephone. They'd have an entire fucking class on this. And so Western Electric built basically like a couple of suitcases. One that had a pair of Model 500 telephones, another one that simulated a telephone switch, and basically just a bunch of wires and a battery or a power supply that connected the 2 telephones, and there was a button that could produce ringing voltage. And that was the whole thing, and it fit into a couple of suitcases.
Neat.
It was very cool, and like very, very occasionally I see them come up on eBay, but they are stupid expensive.
Right. I mean, like everything in that era is they're going to be
Well,
real expensive.
I mean, yeah, because anyone that actually knows enough to identify that for what it is knows it's fucking valuable.
Right.
Whereas, like, most of my eBay purchases come from people who are like, this is probably a telephone thing because that looks like a telephone jack, or it says telephone somewhere on it. So here's a box of random plastic crap for $50.
Right.
And I've gotten like most of a lineman's toolkit out of that, out of purchases like that. No. That fits my budget much more than like $500 for this old piece of Western Electric training gear that probably
Right.
doesn't actually work and is mostly rotted by leaking lead acid batteries.
Yeah.
Because, actually, the nice thing is the Bell system, for a very, very long time, standardized on carbon zinc batteries. The great thing about carbon zinc batteries is that they actually are compostable.
Ooh.
They are non-corrosive and they're compostable.
That's interesting. The energy density has to be pretty shit, though.
I mean, yeah, because it was like
Compostable?
1920s battery tech.
Yeah. Well, just like thinking about the chemistry there.
Yeah, well, I mean, the point is the battery packs were slightly larger than a pack of cigarettes.
Yeah.
They would not last long, but they could reliably put out 45 or 50 volts.
Right.
So, how many batteries do you know right now that can reliably put out 50 volts from a single cell?
I've got a bunch of lithium packs that can probably do that.
Yeah, how many actual cells do you need to string together to do that?
I have no idea.
I'm telling you, it's a lot, because those things put out 2.5 volts. 5. This was a single cell that could put out 50 volts. In order to simulate it, I had to build a battery harness stringing 5 9-volt batteries, 9-volt alkaline batteries together to get that equipment working. On the other hand, the alkaline batteries actually last a lot longer, so.
Pick your poison.
Well, yeah, no one has manufactured carbon zinc batteries since sometime before my grandfather refused to take part in the family's tobacco plantation and carbon company.
Carbon company?
Oh, yeah, that was actually a thing. So, how there's different types of electric motors, brushless and brushed?
Yep.
Well, the brushes are made of carbon.
Yes, they are.
And there were actually companies where it was, we take random shit and we turn it into carbon, and then we turn that carbon into other shit.
Random shit, huh?
Well, this company made the original carbon brushes, or the carbon brushes for the starter motors in some of Ford's earliest cars that included brushed motors, and actually several predecessors, all from companies that don't exist anymore. Carbon zinc batteries, around 1900, carbon was a big fucking deal, and you could build an entire company basically we take coal and we set fire to it, and then we take the remains and we turn it into other stuff that's actually useful.
Very useful. I've replaced more than one in some of my cars.
I mean, eventually, yeah, they burn out, but back then, the idea was you build the motor in a way where you can just pull the top off and replace the carbon brush. These days, it's, if the carbon brush burns out, the motor burns out, so you just throw away the motor and you get a new one. And more frequently, you just throw away the car and you get a new one. Because no one builds things to be repaired anymore.
Which is why I keep my car.
That's why I'm a locksmith.
There you go.
At the time, they still build locks to be repaired rather than just thrown out. Although even that is getting harder.
The throwaway society.
Yep. because stacking an extra like 5 spare valves for a potbelly door closer is a great deal for the locksmith and the customer, not so much for the manufacturer, who gets like 5 cents rather than $500.
Definitely true. Plus, it keeps the landfills in business.
That it does. Gotta get a refill.
Well, actually, it's been about 2 hours. 2 hours and 15.
That too. Yeah.
We probably ought to call it.
Yeah, I got shit to do. See you guys when I see you. I don't know why I waved and my camera's off, but whatever.
Well, if we're doing these every quarter, so who knows when you'll see us next.
Roughly 3 months, probably, because I can't get my shit together, and
If we don't fuck up the schedule again,
we'll fuck it up. I guarantee. I guarantee.
I mean that's Radio Statler's brand right there.
Yeah. What's the most on-brand thing we do? Completely fuck up the schedule.
Woohoo!
Because YOLO. Alright, I think that's it for the Radio Statler podcast. Thanks for everybody for joining. Thanks for everybody for watching. And we'll see you next time.
Don't watch. Don't watch.
I mean, do what you want, because the pirate is free, and you are a pirate.